James Harden wanted his trade, and he got his trade. Yes, while you were sleeping, James Harden has been acquired by the Los Angeles Clippers, traded from the 76ers. It involves 7 players. It's a massive deal. 4 draft picks and a pick swap. And as you can see on your screen right now, James Harden, PJ Tucker, Petrusev, all go to the Clippers. To the 76ers, Marcus Morris, Robert Covington, Nicholas Batum, KJ Martin, a plethora of picks. And like I mentioned, a pick swap. Let me welcome in the Hoop Talks crew, Noor Zainab and Justin Pooney. And Noor, I'm going to start with you. I know it's early days. It just happened. He hasn't even dribbled the ball yet for the Clippers. But who won this trade?
You know what? This is a crazy one because I think this is, you gotta look at it from both sides. Because Philly got what they wanted. They wanted to get rid of James Harden. He was not committed to this team whatsoever. I think at some point down the line this season, if it was not last night at 3:00 in the morning, it would have been at some point in the middle of the night in like February or something like that. So this had to happen. And what they got in return for James Harden was a roster. They had no roster beforehand. They had no depth whatsoever, surrounded by Embiid and Harden at that point. So they gave them a little bit of a future almost. Like you don't really have a superstar next to Embiid anymore, which is true, but Embiid still needed help because he's someone who needs to stay healthy throughout the season. And if he's not, which most of the time he isn't, you need someone to come through who can kind of like not replicate that level of obviously superstardom, but at least give them some level of depth, which is what they got. They got the depth out of that. I'm happy for them. Are they going to be competitive? That's a different conversation, but I'm happy for them. On the other side, the Clippers.
Go
ahead.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, yeah, no worries. On the other side, the Clippers, I think they needed to do this. This is something that this is going to be either all in or not in at all. This was their last chance to get themselves a championship. They already had a roster of Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Russell Westbrook, and we've known for a while that Harden wanted to be there. And the one thing that the Clippers were lacking was a profound ball handler. Now, we'll see what version of Harden we get, the shoot first, the pass first, whichever one it is. I think it helps them with this roster because now I'm sure we're going to see there's 3 guys on this team for the Clippers who are going to be going into their contract renewing with Kawhi, with Paul George, and with James Harden. So the Clippers are banking everything they've got in this year and the year after. And honestly, I think that's the fair thing to do here. You have this roster, you have to give up your entire future. They gave up 2 first-round picks. They gave up 2 second-round picks. They had a pick swap. They gave up their entire bench and Marcus Morris. I loved Robert Covington for them. It sucks. Marcus Morris was also a pretty big get for them as well the past couple of years. That sucks. But to get that level of superstardom back in James Harden, you're not going to have a lot of depth, but you're going to have probably the best starting 4 in the NBA, in my opinion.
Yeah, Clippers fully all in, Justin. What was your reaction?
Justin.
What was your reaction when you heard about this news when you woke up? What, 5 minutes ago?
I'm still trying to process. Noor saying this is the best starting 4 in the NBA.
Who are you competing with them? Justin.
This is not 2014, 2015 anymore, Noor.
May I finish? They have equal parts offense and defense now. Equal parts. They have guys who can obviously get their offensive load up, but in all 4 of them, in James Harden and Paul George and Kawhi Leonard and Russell Westbrook, but you have 2 of the best guys who each year could easily make the case to be defensive player of the year in Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Only thing is they have to stay healthy. It's not the only thing. It's a massive question mark, I know, but if they can stay healthy, you're telling me these 4 guys, how can you stop all 4 of them at the same time? You need like an army.
Albert, what's the question?
Listen, load management is going to be perfect for the Clippers right now, specifically Kawhi Leonard, right? He can sit, these guys can play, they can alternate nights. But listen, all seriousness, how is this going to work? How is James Harden on this Clippers team after that postseason that we just saw from James Harden, after him asking out of every team he's ever been to? How is this going to work with other guys who, I mean, to say that they're struggling is even a stretch.
Why do this if you're the LA Clippers? Why? Like, you had no reason to do this whatsoever, right? The main integral parts of your team are Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. Make sure they stay healthy. Why are you adding such an element of the unknown, a guy who wants the ball in his hands in James Harden, a guy who's made it very clear before that he's not really about winning. He wants to put up points. How does this work with Russell Westbrook, a guy who was about to start his first full season with the LA Clippers at the point guard position, a guy who knows Paul George, right, who's played with him in Oklahoma City? I was excited to see how Russell Westbrook can integrate himself into that line. Now you have Westbrook, Harden, Kawhi, Paul George. There's one ball. And who's going to share it? Yes, James Harden led the league in assists last year, but once again, this is about the playoffs. And Noor mentioned it. They can all be free agents. Ty Lue can also opt out of his contract after this year as well. This seems like a last-ditch effort for the Los Angeles Clippers, and I think it's reeks of desperation and trying to grab headlines. I don't think this was a move the LA Clippers should have made whatsoever. Daryl Morey, what he just got for James Harden was absolutely amazing. He got 2 first-round picks, 2 pick swaps, Morris, Covington, right? And here's the other thing. The Sixers aren't going to keep those picks. They're not rebuilding like the Toronto Raptors should be. The Philadelphia 76ers can take these picks and flip them for another asset that they can bring in to help lead them to contention in the Eastern Conference. And here's the other thing. How much has Tyrese Maxey's strong play in the beginning of the season helped this? You just saw what he did to the Toronto Raptors on Saturday night, dropping 34 points, right? I'm sure Daryl Morey has seen the hot start he's gotten off to and was like, you know what? We got another all-star in Tyrese Maxey. James Harden, we don't need you anymore. Thank you so much for the headaches and stuff like that. Get out of here. I can't even
listen to this. Are you kidding me? You're going to tell me Tyrese Maxey is going to be the Jason Tatum of Jaylen Brown? He's going to be the Damian Lillard of Giannis.
He's averaging 30 points this season.
He's going to be the Evan Mobley of Darius Garland. Justin, he is a great player who's going to have a great future, but he is not going to be the messiah for Joel Embiid. Look at the state of the Eastern Conference. Joel Embiid, as we know, he is a superstar, but in this conference, you need to have at least another, if not another, definitely 3. Look at the Boston Celtics. They got Kristaps Porzingis. You need to have at least 2. Joel Embiid, even if you got Tyrese Maxey, I'm not going to say I'm never going to go against what his talent is. But my only, I guess, problem with that is just he's really young. He's not the guy who's going to be really effectively holding the offense down when Joel Embiid is out. I don't see that happening whatsoever. And they're going to need a proper superstar coming in the second place to help Joel Embiid out. Yes, there are people available right now, but no matter what happens, I don't see them becoming now all of a sudden Eastern Conference favorites or even contenders. Right now, I think they've probably fallen off getting rid of James Harden. We saw how James Harden did when he was with Embiid. He was, as you said, leading the league in assists, but that duo worked because they understood their roles. Joel Embiid understood where he needed to be to get the most out of himself. And Harden also understood for him to win, he has to pass the ball. He has to be more passive. And that worked out for both of them and for the team itself. So I can see the same kind of James Harden going over to the Clippers because, as you said, this is now our do or die for the Clippers, for James Harden, for everybody on that roster. And personally, I think this is the best thing to do when you're in a do or die situation. You have to give up your future because you're banking on your now. You're not banking on your future. And to get something back for now, you kind of have to sacrifice what you're going to be getting in the future. So they're putting all their eggs in the James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Russell Westbrook basket. And I honestly think that's the right move for them right now, because had they not done that, would we not look back at them this season if they, let's say something does not work out and we're like, well, the front office again just completely left the ball on this. They've done the right things. And if this doesn't work out from this point forward, they can say, all right, we tried with this roster. We even gave them an additional ball handler who was the leader in assists last year. And if that doesn't work out, let's just clean our hands slate and see what happens. But I think they needed to do this, and this is the right move.
I mean, it's high risk for the Clippers, right? You have 4 alphas. They're not all going to be happy at the same time. How long does it take until Harden decides, you know what, maybe this was a bad decision? Not saying that will happen, but I get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying. And he's definitely much more of a playmaker. I think under the radar, people don't realize that Harden led the league in assists last season. Some way, somehow. Is that going to translate to the Clippers? I mean, maybe. It's like Justin said, there's only one ball. What's going to happen there? But on the 76ers side of things, I find it so interesting because I think one person you really have to keep an eye on is Joel Embiid. If the Sixers don't turn around and flip maybe those picks and some of those players to bring in another stud, I'm not sure who's going to be available. I wonder how long Embiid's going to give this thing, because the window to win a championship, specifically for the 76ers, is shrinking because everybody else around them has strengthened in the offseason, except for the 76ers. You can say, in a sense, that they're weaker now, but they got that distraction out in terms of James Harden. So I want to start with this question to Justin Pooney. Who's closer to making an NBA Finals this season? Is it going to be the Clippers or the 76ers?
You're thinking about this?
Can I say neither? Because the way I see it is this, right?
Oh, you got to pick one.
You're gonna rely. Okay, I'll go with the Clippers just for the sheer fact that the East is only 2 teams so far this season, right? The East is only 2 teams, right? The West is a bit more wide open and anything can happen, right? The Clippers, again, it's a probably the biggest if in sports. If Kawhi Leonard and Paul George could stay healthy, right? If that can happen, then I believe that they can make a run. This is a team that went to the Western Conference Finals, win healthy, right? But you have James Harden. You rely on James Harden in the playoffs. Ask Houston how that went. Ask Brooklyn how that went. Ask Philly how that went. What happened? Nothing. Nada, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so hard for me to believe the Clippers added a guy who is one of the greatest scorers of his generation, right? Has moved himself into being a facilitator, right? But now I don't know the fit, how it works. How is this going to work? We need to see it on the court. I believe in Ty Lue, one of the best coaches in basketball, but the egos, when the going gets tough, and we know in the NBA, in the playoffs, when the pressure's on, your big players need to rise up to the occasion. And quite frankly, as much as I love Russell Westbrook, he hasn't risen up in the playoffs. Same with James Harden. Same with Paul George a lot of the time, right? So it's hard for me now when they lost all that depth to believe that they can make a championship run with this roster as currently constructed because of health and past playoff demons for both of them.
What do you think, Nora?
Yeah, just completely disagree. I'm gonna go with the Clippers entirely. I think Philly doesn't have anything. Philly doesn't. I applaud them for getting a bench. They needed that. They gave that up when they brought in James Harden, when they had to do that, because at that point Ben Simmons had no trade value. So you have to give up everything on your roster to get James Harden over. And at that point, we saw the duo of James Harden and Joel Embiid work together because they bought into their roles. James Harden understood that for him to win a ring, he can't be the main guy. He understood that. So he ended up passing the ball and became the leader in assists all last year. Yes, didn't work out in the playoffs, but that's a whole different story. But I think in this situation where you add him to a team with Kawhi Leonard, with Paul George, with Russell Westbrook, yes, there's a big question about the health. It's always going to be a question about that. But I think it's kind of hypocritical to bring that question up. And you're talking about Joel Embiid as well, who has had a problem staying healthy throughout the entire year in the playoffs and the regular season. So health is going to be a factor both ways. The only thing is, if this team, as this roster, as you're constructing it to stay healthy, to stick around, then they have a good shot at winning everything out. I would put them at the same tier, honestly, as the Phoenix Suns, because they've got the powerhouse. They've got the talent. Only thing they need to do moving forward now is, again, the one game hasn't even started yet. We have to see how they all gel together. But I truly believe if they buy into their roles, this is going to be a dangerous team. They have equal parts offense, equal parts defense. It's not just offense from a role player. It's offense from superstars. It's not just defense from two different role players. It's defense from Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. I think this can work.
My opinion, I just don't know how anybody would want James Harden. I don't, like, outside of his skill and what he can do in a basketball court when he wants to. Other than that, I mean, do you really want this headache? This can cause the Clippers some serious issues. So this is what I mean by high risk, potentially high reward. And you need what? You need Westbrook to bounce back. You need a good year from Paul George. You need a healthy Kawhi.
I think for Harden too,
the skill is there. The skill is there, right? But I mean, there's still a lot of questions around all four of those guys.
And for Harden too, though, I think he needs to be in a spot where he's going to be asked to do things and he's going to have consequences if not. And I think if you're surrounded by a team that's being coached by Ty Lue, who's won championships before, worked with LeBron James, understand what it takes to win something, you're going to have a louder voice in that locker room. Doc Rivers just never got the respect of his players, unfortunately. And that's why he's doing TV commentary now. But Ty Lue is going to be a different factor. And I think even surrounded by guys like Kawhi Leonard, who have won championships, who have come from a spot that just demands leadership and respect, I kind of see James Harden hopefully kind of following in line and going along with it, as he did again with the Sixers. For the first couple months, he just bought into his role and went along with it. Things change absolutely, and we never know, especially if obviously injuries come up. But as it stands, it can work, guys.
Justin, Clippers down 1, Game 7, Western Conference Final against the Lakers. Who gets the ball for the final shot?
It's Kawhi Leonard. You think James Harden's going to take that shot? Come on now. James Harden led the league in assists last year, right? And he still couldn't get a max contract from anybody. That just shows you how damaged goods he is in the NBA.
It's not. I don't think
that just shows you like how damaged goods he is.
It's not. But his damaged goods are a lot to do with his off-court adventures.
Exactly. So why are you wanting to bring him into your team?
But what I'm saying is, if you have somebody who is he's going to be asked to produce and is going to be put on the spot to produce. He's no longer going to be run by Doc Rivers, who can just say whatever he wants to. He's going to have to answer to an NBA champion, head coach.
Doc Rivers was an NBA champion too.
We know about Doc Rivers. When did that happen? If you're looking at Ty Lue, if you're looking at Kawhi Leonard, if they're asking you to produce, I think the level of like seriousness comes to be a long way. But again,
we're gonna Kevin Durant on his team too. Before
are you talking about Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving to me right now? The three musketeers.
This guy he doesn't care. The only thing James Harden cares about is getting the bag, and that's the only saving grace the Clippers could have.
Well, why would he go to the Clippers when he can easily retire? Like, he's going to be going into a contract. He can sign onto a new contract, go elsewhere, make way more money. He's going to the Clippers where the money is going to be divided to 4 different freaking ways, and he's not going to be getting the main payday for the Clippers. He clearly wants to win a ring. If he was going to go to Houston, it would be different. It would be like, you know what? I'm here to win a scoring championship. I don't care about anything. You take care of your kids, you babysit them. I'm just here to get my money in. Here, he understands that he's not going to be at the top of the pecking order, whether that's getting the ball or either getting paid. So right now, he wants to win a ring.
The biggest winner is LA strip
He got what you want, right? Harden got exactly what he wanted. He's getting paid. He's going to LA. He gets to play with some of his friends, and you'll see him at every celebrity party known to man in Los Angeles. And we should probably give a little bit of credit to Daryl Morey, right? Shedding that contract and getting rid of PJ Tucker and getting what he got in return. I thought, listen, with this whole Harden situation, the 76ers were going to get fleeced, and Justin, you touched on it, and they did it. So credit to Daryl Morey. But one more player he had to part ways with, maybe just a little parting thought on our boy Danny Green, NBA champion with the Toronto Raptors. He was waived to make room for this deal to go down. Nor, do you have something to say about Danny Green? And I know we got to touch on the Raptors at least once in this conversation. So is there a chance maybe they grab him?
Well, don't ask Justin. He's already tried to throw some daggers at the Raptors today.
That's why I asked.
Yeah. I good for you, Danny Green, for your NBA venture. You've had a great run. You won a championship. You were with Popovich, Tim Duncan, the greats of the greats, helped Kawhi Leonard be a friend in Toronto as well when he got moved from San Antonio to come here. But I think it might be time to perhaps lace them up or head over to a younger team and play a vet.
Well, Nora, are you retiring Danny Green right now?
Guys, we saw what he did last year and the year before. I think it's time. I think it's good. Again, who's going to pick him up? Like, I only can see
somebody will.
A younger team.
We probably shouldn't feel too sorry for him. What's he made in his career? Over $100 million. He's got a couple championships. His podcast is a huge hit. So, I mean, he'll be all right. But I thought we'd touch on Danny Green, Justin Pooney.
Yeah, I mean, Danny Green, good career. Enjoy retirement. Probably going to get some job in the media. Go get that media bag, bro. Just
JJ Redick's podcast, I'm sure, has like mics available. So yeah, we'll probably see him there at some point. But
yeah, he'll be fine.
Had a great run.
He'll be fine.
You can come join us at homestand.
There's more people. Oh. Yeah, worry about me, guys. Don't worry about Danny Green. This is worse people to worry about.
Shout out Danny Green, had a good career. Shout out to the 76ers and the Clippers for making this massive deal on NFL trade deadline day out of all days and doing it overnight. But it got done. James Harden.
Also, shout out to James Harden, for getting his 3rd trade request approved. I've never seen someone have one a year the past 3 years, and each one of them has been granted. So well done. Tempered tantrums work in the NBA. Shout out children, look up to James Harden, see how it's
No,
done.
no, 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 no.
You
I
can
gotta
probably
shut that down
extend
right
your
away.
bedtime tonight by like an
No.
hour if you take up
No.
his
It's
stuff.
Halloween tonight. You get to
I
extend
gotta
it
shut that
anyway.
shit down right away. I don't ever want to hear about this James Harden situation ever again. But unfortunately, within 6 to 7 months, we're gonna hear about it again because there's no way Westbrook and Kawhi and Paul George and James Harden are all going to be happy together. It's just not going to happen. So enjoy it for the short amount of time you can enjoy it. But Harden to the Clippers, it's done, and now we see what's going to happen next.